Today will be lesson 3 in instructional videos for Master Kuo Lien Ying's Northern Shaolin Chuan. Today we're going to learn 2 more moves in the Dalu, the form. And before we begin, I'll do a demonstration of what we've learned already up to where we'll be at the end of the lesson. We're going to perform the form facing the camera as it normally would be viewed. If you want to see the side view of up to this time, you can go back to lessons and see the closer details. So you see the moves that we're going to learn are going to be on the diagonal line. We did the diagonal turn back for the blade hand strike, and then we did the punch and kick, stepping into the cat stance and the right punch on the 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock line. And then we're going to turn back and do a series of movements on the diagonal is what we're going to learn today. One of the characteristics of Master Kuo's Northern Shaolin, Chuan, is the transition from high to low stances and the variation in the height. Think of it as like the dropping into the low evasion and then coming up into a strong striking stance. So this next move that we're going to learn is typical of this transition from high to low, low to high. And a lot of people are going to find this kind of difficult because you're basically doing a one-legged squat in order to get down into that low position. Let's kind of review the drop stance a little bit so that you can kind of learn a little bit more about the details of it. When you end up in the drop stance, no matter which way you're entering into it, you want your center of gravity to be inside of this hip, okay? If you could drop too straight down on this, you're not going to be able to go down low. You need your body and your spine to drop on the inside of this knee. So from here, when you're in this position here, a crane, you're going to have to move your balance over as you drop down. You're not going to be able to drop down straight like that. You'll never be able to go out far enough. In learning the Tantai, the 10 roads, many of the times that you're going to go into the drop stance, you're already in either a horse or a bow stance. So going down on this one leg, you have this leg to support some of your weight. But now we're in a position where we're going to be in a crane stance and having to drop all the way down without having that foot on the ground. So you're going to find that a little bit difficult depending on your leg strength and your flexibility. In learning the move, I'm going to show you as we go through it that from that crane stance, you can kind of go only halfway down and then transition into the move. And you could do that in the beginning if you can't do the full drop stance. And also you can do it just so that you learn the sequential order and flow of the movement. And then as you get better at it, you can deepen that stance. So I'm going to teach both the old school drop down all the way and then kind of more the modified drop stance with the flow. So let's take it from where we left off last time, from this position here with the right strike. So again, quick review, we got there from the blade hand strike, then the kick and punch step, and then you ended up in this right hand strike. So we're going to take it from that position. From here, you want to cross your hand left over the right. And then you're going to go up into the crane stance as you brush your knee into this position here. Both palms are facing up. Knee is kind of in front for your balance. And you're fairly erect. Okay? Facing the camera here. From here, cross the left over the right. Brush the knee as you come up. The ground. Here. And then you're going to, from here, you're going to drop in this stance. I'm going to do a modified low stance and then punch here. So you're facing this way. From the low sit, right hand punch, cross the hands, come up in the crane, and then now you're going to pivot about just like a quarter of a turn, and then drop down here on the diagonal. Okay? And as you drop down into the low drop stance, this hand is going to come low, and it's going to sweep, grab, and then punch. So the other characteristic of the Northern Shaolin is a kind of a flowing style. So all the way from this left hand here, it's going to come down as you're doing into the falling stance, drop stance, and then kind of grab, come back for retraction as you're doing the right punch. So this hand goes like that as you're doing the movement. So watch this left hand here. Goes out, crosses, goes up. As you turn, sweeps all the way down, grab, retracts, and the right hand comes out as punch. So the right hand from this high position is going in into this fist under elbow and then striking forward. So into a punch. Okay. High into the punch, and then a punch in retraction or horizontal. Okay. So here we're doing the vertical punch and cross, come up in the crane, pivot, grab, and punch into the bow and arrow stance. So if you're having a hard time doing that full drop, because again, you're going to be going from the high all the way down without any support. And again, from here, we're going to do this pivot. Here, pivot all the way down. This hand comes sweeping down, and then this hand is coming this way. This hand is sweeping out, and then both are on the horizontal line here. So because you're going from this high crane here, you're dropping all the way down. When you achieve the amount of flexibility to do this, then you can actually use the kind of the bounce of your joint to accentuate the power coming up. So it would look like this. Here, so I'm using that full bounce off the ground into the projection of the power for the punch. But again, if you have limited mobility and you're just learning and it's having difficulty, then what you can do is kind of just practice going from here, first kind of get the rhythm of that flow of the punch here. So I'm not really dropping down, but I'm extending my leg out, grab and punch. I'm kind of learning the flow of the movement and doing a half dance. So again, from here, 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 here. Okay, so if you just kind of repeat that over and over, you'll get the flavor of the movement without having to do the step-by-step old school drop. Or you could do it slow motion, kind of broken down like we did in Horses Square. So you go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's another way to learn, okay? Just kind of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And if you combine those two, then you eventually get that flow and the stepping. Like that. Okay. So that move, I think, is going to be the most difficult for you at this point, depending on your previous experience and your ability, whether you learn the 10-row tantway and you already have developed the ability to go from the drop stance to the bow stance, go from the crane to the drop. A lot of that will depend on where you are in your practice. But again, if you're doing it kind of the modified style here, kind of just think of the way that the flow goes. And that's another way to practice. And again, in training, a lot of people wait till they do their morning routine in order to practice. But if you learn how to do these kind of half trainings, you can do this throughout the day. So you kind of just sit somewhere and then kind of do that movement over and over, even though it's not the full old school drop fully into the punch action, you're still getting the kind of the flavor and the tempo of it as well. And I think also functionally, if you were like kind of like ripping up, kind of like sweeping somebody's arms up, and then you're going in a low duck, having that little half stance for actual practical use might be better than falling all the way down where you can have a hard time getting out of that stance again. So there's many ways to train. I'm not saying that there has to be one way. I'm teaching you different ways that you can approach your training as well as following the old school principles that Sifu taught. Okay, so let's go back to learn the second move. From here, the punch, cross, go into the crane, pivot, drop down. This is like a sweeping, grabbing, retraction, punch. Okay, from this next move, you're going to do a right pointed toe, straight leg kick. Like that, okay? So after the punch, then you go right into the straight leg kick. And then from here, come down to the toe. Okay, so here, crane, pivot, down, grab and punch, kick, then come back right down to the toe, right here. Okay, one more time. from the last punch from the last lesson. Cross the hands, come up into crane, pivot, drop down, sweep, grab, punch, and then the pointed toe kick. Come back down to that toe. I advise in learning to do it each step by step, and then before you start linking the moves too fast together. So make sure that you do each one of those moves fully completed. Even though I teach you the flow, you should end up with that strike and do a pause before you do the kick. Don't go into too fast, which will look like this. It looks too rushed. Take the time in between the moves to fully complete each move. That's an important part of the process. Okay, so from that kick, we're going to learn how to, from here, the kick, we're going to do a skip step and then a blade hand strike. That's the next move. Okay, so let's take it from the first move, goes from the sitting punch to the crane to the grab and punch. Second move is the kick and punch. Left hand punches out horizontally as you kick, and then come back down, skip, and then blade hand strike. Gonna take a little further back, have more room. From the sitting punch into the crane, pivot, falling stance, grab and punch, kick and punch, then skip step, and blade hand strike. So on kick and punch, when you come up and kick, let yourself come down to the toe before you do the skip step. That way you can kind of remember the rhythm and the sequence. And then you're going to step out, skip, and then strike. Okay, from the kick and punch, down. So here after you do, here, so after the toe comes down, touches the ground, then take a step. Once you get that sequence down, then you're going to, after the kick and punch, just go right into the skip. Like that. That'd be in this direction here. So after the grab and punch, then the kick and punch, so it's kind of a off-timing movement, because after the kick and punch, you're on this foot, but you went up on the left foot, so you have to do this skip in order to do the right hand strike. So that right hand strike is same as that strike, right? So you actually already know that strike. So you're just inserting into this series of movements. Okay, so one more time. From the sitting right hand punch, cross the hands, come up in the crane, pivot, drop down, grab and punch, then kick and punch and skip. And blade hand strike. Okay, you notice one more thing, that after I do the kick and punch here, when I do the skip, I'm going to rotate my body this way as I do the skip, so then I have the rotational force for the last right hand strike. So the second movement is going to start after this grab and punch. Then you're going to do the kick, then the skip step, rotate, and then the blade hand strike. So let's practice that last move a few times. Okay, so after doing the grab and punch and ending up in the bow stance in this position here, you're going to do the kick, straight pointed toe kick and punch, then come down, skip, blade hand strike. Watch my upper body, you'll see that twisting as I do the skip from here. Kick and punch. Okay, one more time, we'll just do this way. So from the grab and the punch, and the kick and punch. So you see that twisting motion. Okay, from the grab and punch, kick and punch. And then it'll be on the diagonal line. So let's take those last two moves together from this position that we learned in the last lesson from here. Okay, cross the hands, crane, pivot, drop down, punch, and then step two, move number two, kick and punch, skip step, blade hand strike. Edge of that right hand forward, just a slight crook in the elbow, and shoulders fairly square to the front. It has to be perfectly square, but pretty much straightforward. Okay, let's take that a little bit faster with flow. The low sit and punch, come up. So you can see two moves there. Definitely make it a slight pause from the first punch, the grab and punch. Hesitate, pause, hold, and then kick and punch, blade hand strike. So let's take all the moves we've learned up to this point and put them all together. I'll do it twice, and the first time I'll call out the moves. Elevator drop, strike forward, reach back, 1, 2, 3, stamp, fist, hands on the hip, blade hand strike, and then kick and punch into the sit and right hand punch. Cross the hands, come up into the crane, pivot, drop stance, grab, punch. Kick and punch, skip step, blade hand strike. Okay, and then this time I'm going to do it without talking through it and just do it with a little bit more flow. Still kind of like about 3/4 speed so that you can see the actual movements. Okay, there you have it for today's lesson. At least with these few number of movements that we're learning, you can start to get a flavor of what the Northern Shaolin feels like. And then as you progress, your stamina, your flexibility, agility, flow, power, strength will all kind of grow, and then you'll be able to get the full flavor of the form. One of my favorite forms. Thank you.